Sophie Turner sat in the corner booth of Millie's Diner, the little place on Main Street with the checkered floors and the smell of fresh pie always hanging in the air. She glanced at the clock above the counter for what felt like the 10th time. 6:47 p.m. Her blind date, Jake Miller, was now 17 minutes late. She told herself to wait 5 more minutes. Just 5. Then she'd text her friend Megan, who'd set this whole thing up, and say thank you, but no more blind dates. Sophie had built a good life on her own. She ran a small dog grooming business, owned her little yellow house on Elm Street, and had finally learned how to enjoy quiet evenings with a book and a glass of wine. Still, some nights felt a bit too quiet. Maybe that's why she'd said yes to this date in the first place. At 6:51, the diner bell jingled. Sophie looked up, heart jumping, then froze. It wasn't Jake. It was 2 little girls, identical twins, no more than 6. They had brown curls tied in matching pigtails, and both wore denim jackets over pink dresses. They stood at the entrance, scanning the room like they were on a mission. Then their bright hazel eyes landed on her. Before Sophie could blink, they marched over. The slightly taller one stopped right in front of her. "Are you Miss Sophie?" she asked in a serious voice. Yes," Sophie said, surprised. The girl nodded as if confirming important intelligence. "Good. I'm Lily. This is my sister Rose. Our daddy says he's sorry he's late." Sophie blinked again. "Daddy? Wait, this had to be Jake's kids." Megan hadn't mentioned children. "He had to fix an emergency at the shop," Rose said softly. "A car broke down real bad. But don't worry," Lily added quickly. "He was really excited about this date. We heard him tell Uncle Mike last night that he might actually like this one." Sophie tried not to laugh. "He said that, did he?" "Uh-huh," Lily said proudly. Then she sighed, sounding far too grown up. "He didn't want to be late, but when someone's car won't start, Daddy can't just say no. He says helping people is his job." Sophie looked from one twin to the other, both so earnest and full of energy, and felt her disappointment melting. "So your dad's at the auto shop right now?" Rose nodded. "Yup. We thought maybe we could tell you so you wouldn't be mad." Sophie smiled. "Well, I'm not mad anymore." Just then, she spotted a gray minivan parked outside with an older woman in the driver's seat watching closely. "That's Mrs. Harris," Lily said, noticing Sophie looking. "Our babysitter. She drove us here. We told her we had a very important mission." Sophie couldn't help but laugh this time. "You two really planned this out." "Of course," Lily said. "Daddy hasn't gone on a date since Mommy went to heaven." The words hit softly but deep. "I'm sorry," Sophie said quietly. Rose gave a small nod. "It's okay. She got sick when we were 4. Daddy takes good care of us." They told Sophie about how their dad learned to braid hair by watching YouTube videos, and how he made pancakes in the shape of animals every Sunday. How he sometimes sang while fixing cars and always smelled like motor oil and soap. As they talked, Sophie saw their father through their eyes, someone strong, kind, and doing his best. After a few minutes, Sophie leaned forward. "You know what I think? If he's still at the shop, he's probably hungry. What do you say we take him dinner?" Both girls gasped, like it was the greatest idea in the world. "We can get burgers," Lily shouted. "He loves the ones from here with extra pickles." "And chocolate milkshakes," Rose added. So Sophie ordered takeout for all of them, plus a couple of fries for emergencies. Mrs. Harris looked surprised, but agreed to drive them the short distance to Miller's Auto Repair, a low brick building on the edge of town. When they arrived, The big garage door was half open, spilling yellow light onto the gravel. Inside, a tall man in grease-stained coveralls stood beside an old pickup truck, wiping his hands with a rag. His head lifted when he heard the car doors slam. His eyes widened. "Lily?" "Rose," he said, dropping the rag. "What on earth?" Then he saw Sophie stepping out of the car, holding a paper bag. You're Sophie." Lily grinned. "Surprise. We brought dinner." For a moment, Jake just stared, torn between shock and embarrassment. His hair was messy, his hands still smudged with oil, and his blue shirt clung to his arms. Sophie could tell he was exhausted and completely flustered. I am so sorry," he stammered. "I swear I was going to call. A customer's brakes went out and I couldn't leave it." "It's okay," Sophie said gently. "Your girls explained everything. They didn't want me to think you forgot their little masterminds," he muttered, shaking his head. "We're heroes," Lily corrected proudly. "We saved your date." Jake laughed, the tension easing from his shoulders. "That you did." They ate dinner right there in the shop, sitting on overturned crates, paper plates balanced on their laps. The girls chattered nonstop, telling stories about school and the cat they'd rescued from behind the gas station. Sophie noticed how patient Jake was with them, how he listened to every word, even when they interrupted each other. He was gentle and funny, with a quiet strength that drew her in. When the girls ran off to show Mrs. Harris the magic tire swing behind the building, Jake looked at Sophie and said softly, "I can't believe they did this." "They just wanted you to be happy," she said, "and honestly, I'm glad they did." He smiled, slow, warm, and a little shy. "So am I." Over the next few months, Sophie and Jake saw each other often. What began with an interrupted dinner turned into Sunday mornings at the diner, afternoons helping at the shop, and evenings filled with laughter and stories. The twins adored Sophie and followed her everywhere. Jake confessed one night, as they cleaned up after dinner, that he'd been afraid to date since his wife died. It felt wrong, like moving on meant forgetting her, he said quietly. Sophie touched his arm. "You're not forgetting her, Jake. You're just remembering her differently, through them." That was the night he kissed her for the first time. It wasn't rushed or perfect. His hands smelled faintly of motor oil. But it was real and full of hope. By winter, Sophie was spending most weekends with them. They baked cookies, went sledding, and helped decorate the shop for Christmas. Lily and Rose made a banner that read, "Welcome, Miss Sophie, our family mechanic." Jake pretended to scold them, but his eyes were soft. Then one evening in early spring, he called and asked her to meet him at the shop. When Sophie arrived, the garage was spotless. Strings of warm lights hung from the ceiling, and a small table stood where the old truck usually parked. On it sat a single red rose and a velvet box. Jake was waiting beside it, wearing a clean shirt but still his work boots. His hands shook slightly. "Sophie," he said, his voice rough. 6 months ago, I thought my life was just work and responsibility. Then 2 little girls decided I needed something more. You walked into our world and brought laughter back. You've loved them like they were yours. You've loved me when I didn't think I deserved it. Will you marry me?" Sophie's throat tightened. "Yes," she whispered, tears filling her eyes. 1,000 times, yes." Just then, the garage door creaked open. Lily and Rose ran in, squealing with delight. "She said yes." "We knew it." Jake laughed and scooped them both up. "You two planned this too, didn't you?" "Of course," Lily said proudly. "We helped pick the ring." 3 months later, They were married in the backyard of Sophie's yellow house. The ceremony was small and simple. Friends, family, and a few mechanics from the shop. Lily and Rose wore matching white dresses with tiny wrenches painted on the hems for luck. After the vows, Sophie bent down to the twins. "Thank you for bringing me to your dad," she said. Rose hugged her tightly. "Thank you for staying." As the sun set, Jake wrapped his arms around his new wife and whispered, "Guess being 17 minutes late wasn't such a bad thing after all." Sophie smiled, leaning into him. Sometimes love just needs a little extra time, and two very determined little girls.